Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do the question 26th of my database management systems practical video series. So without further ado, let's go to our question list. Here you can see under day 12 is the question 26. But before starting this video, I have to notify you if you didn't watch the previous videos, at least starting from question 17. It's better you watch those videos first, otherwise you will not understand what we are doing here, because we are answering to a question including this question 17. These question sets are based on a database we created on question 18 and 17. If you didn't watch those videos, it's better you watch them first. Okay, now let's go to our video. Here's the first part of the question 26. Find the sum of the marks obtained by Amanda Moses in all the subjects of the first term test. Okay, here you can see we have a name, Amanda Moses, and also we have the exam term, that's the first term test. Those are the two conditions we have to use to filter this data, and you can see we have to find all the marks related to all the subjects of the student Amanda Moses and in first term test. Here you can see there's another new part to the question. We didn't encounter these kind of questions earlier. You can see we have to find the sum of the marks. Okay, when we are proceeding, I will show you how we going to find the sum, or we calculate the total of the marks using the query. Let's go to our HDSQL browser. Here you can see here's the HDSQL browser, and let me show you our database here, exam mark db. That's the database. You can see these are the tables we created: class, exam, term, student, like that. Let me show you the details, or the name and the contact number, gender, those details related to a student is stored in the student table. Here you can see, let's find our student. Here's the Amanda Moses student, and this is the record of her. Now if we are filtering the data, we have to use this table too, and also this is the table we use to store the marks recorded by the students in various kind of exams they faced, and we have to work or deal with this table too, and also we have to filter the data using the exam term. And here's the exam term table, is the table we use to store the details like a term name and exam date. That's the table we use to store those details of the exam. Okay, now let's go to our query tab, and first I'm going to show you the data recorded in the student exam mark record table, because that's the main table using the query. Okay, you know what we have to do. We did this part a lot in my videos. Select, I need all the details for now, so asterisk from, and here's the database name, exam mark db, and here's the table. Let's execute this one. You can see these are the data stored in our student exam mark record table. These data related to all the student, but now we have to find only the only a data set of specific student, and also in a specific term. So we can use there are two methods. We can use the joining method. We can join the table, these three tables we talked about earlier, together, or we can use the subquery method. So we can address tables separately. But in this case, I like to use the join method, specifically the inner join method. So I'm joining the student table to this one. So inner join, that's the keyword I'm using. You can use the self join method if you want. I'm using the inner join method, and here's the student table, exam mark DB, and here's the student table. And now we have to define what's the connection between these two tables, or we can say what is the attribute which foreign from a table to another table. That's the connection. Always that's the connection. So here I'm mentioning that connection. You can see in the exam student mark record table, here you can see there's a student index number, and it's a foreign key from the student table. You can see this is the primary key in student table, index number. That's the attribute which foreign to the student exam mark record table. So that's the connection. So the index number in the student table should be equal to the student index number in student exam mark record table. Okay, now let's execute this one. You can see the these two tables joined together in a corresponding order, and let's join our other tables. You know, we have to join the exam term table. That's the only table we have to join. So exam mark DB, that's the database, and exam term table. You can see I omit the join keyword. We have to use the full set of keywords in a join, not inner, otherwise it will show an error. So we have to use the correct keywords. So here's the inner join part. Okay, inner join exam term, and here's the condition or the relation. The exam ID in exam term table should be equal to the exam ID recorded in the student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one. You can see our three tables are joined together with the in a corresponding order. Now we have to define our filter, our details using our filters. Here's the first one. We can filter this data using the first name and the last name, because that's the, let me show you the question. That's the first condition. The data should be related to Amanda Moses. So that data is stored in the student table, but not like subqueries. We can directly call the attribute, because these attributes these attributes are stored in different tables. After we join them together, those attributes work as a single table, like they are in a single table. So we can directly call them. We don't need to write select queries again and again. So here's the condition. I'm using the keyword where is the first one. The first name in the student table, it's better you use the you mention the table first. If you didn't mention the table first, it's not going to do any harm, but it's better you mention the first name, the table name, and here's the attribute first name, and it should be equal to Amanda. Let me copy that name. Okay, Amanda. And here's the second one, first name, and we have to filter this data using the last name. So student last name should be equal to Moses. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see only the details or records related to Amanda Moses is showing in our result. And now you can see in the term here are the data related to the first term and also the second term test, but we only need the first term test detail. So we can write another condition to the exam term table like this: exam term dot term name. We can filter this data using the term name, and it should be equal to, let's go to our question. Here you can see first term. So first term, execute this one. Here you can see the first term records of Amanda Moses is here in our result. Now here's the important part: we have to find the sum or the total value of her marks in first term test for all the subjects. So here are 3 marks related to the 3 subjects, and we use the max keyword, the count keyword, and also the min keyword. Like that, we use there are some pre-built keywords. There's also a keyword to find the total of any attribute, any values in attribute called sum, and we can use that keyword. And here we have to input an attribute, so it can find the total value recorded in that attribute. So here I'm mentioning student exam mark record table. That's the table which store the mark. So, and the mark. Okay, here is our complete query. Let's execute this one. You can see the total value of her is 265. Now we can change the name. You can see the attribute name, it's not very suitable. If you want, we can change that name using the keyword as here, and we can rename the attribute name of the result. Here's the new name. We can show attribute name like total marks. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see this is the final query. Let me show you the whole query. This is the whole query we used to find the answer to the first part of the question, and let's move on to the second one. Okay, here's the second part of the question. What is the sum of the marks obtained by Nisansala Vikramanayaka, a student studying in class 11B for all subjects in second term test? Okay, here there are 4 conditions, because there's a name of a student Nisansala Vikramanayaka, and here we have to filter the data using her class 11B, and also there's the term. We have to find only the second term test marks. Okay, and here's the thing we have to do. We have to find the sum of the marks. Now let's go to our SQL browser. Let me clear this old query. Okay, now write a new one to this part of the question. First, I like to show you the main table, which is the table which records the marks of the student. Here, you know what we have to do: select asterisk marks for all the details from. Here's the database name, exam mark DB, and here's the student exam mark record table. Let's execute this one. Here are the details. Now I'm going to use the inner join method again. Inner join. Here's the second one. I'm joining the student table to this one. So in exam mark database, here's the student table, and it should be not equal. We have to write or define the connection between these 2 tables. So we joined these tables in few minutes earlier. So student index number in student table, sorry, not first name, student index number, and it should be equal to the student index number in student exam mark record table. Okay, that's the connection, and let's execute this one. Okay, here we connect two tables together, and here's the next part. In a join, we can we have to connect the class table to, here's the class table, that's the new table we are going to join. We joined other three tables. Now there are we have to join four tables, because the class table is the table which records the details of the class. So if you want to filter the data using the class name, we have to join this table too. So let's do that one. Inner join exam mark db. It's not necessary to define the database name everywhere, but I'm defining anyway because it will be accurate. So here's the class table, and here's the connection on the class ID in class table, and it should be equal to the class ID in student table. Okay, you can see in the student table there's a attribute which foreign from the class table called class ID. Okay, that's the connection we made. Now here you can see the class name is showing in our result. Now we have to join. In a join, we can join the it's not necessary to join the subject table, because we have to find all the details of the subjects. So we are not filtering the data using the subject table. So we can there's only one table, the exam term table. Okay, in exam mark db, the exam term table, and here's the connection. The exam term ID in exam term table should be equal to the exam term ID in the student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one too. Okay, here you can see all the tables, all the four tables are joined together. Now we can define our conditions to filter this data. Okay, here's the first condition. I'm filtering this data using the name of the student. There are two attributes, so we have to define two conditions, first name and the last name. Here's the first one. In student table, first name should be equal to, let's go to our question and see the name, Nisansala, and second name should be equal to Vikramanayaka. Let me copy the name here. This is the student. Here's the first name, Nisansala, and here's the AND keyword. I'm defining the next condition. So in the student table again, here's the last name, and last name should be equal to Vikramanayaka. Let's copy that name too. Okay, here we filter the data using the name of the student. Let's execute this one. Here you can see only the data related to Nisansala Vikramanayaka is showing in our result set. Now there are two conditions. There are only two conditions left to filter our data, and I'm using the AND keyword. And here's the first one. I'm filtering the remaining data using the class. Here's the class. You can see she's in class 11B. It's obvious if we find the details of the filter the details using the first name and last name. So Nisansala Vikramanayaka can only remain in a one class, but it's better. Actually, it's not necessary to find these details using the class name, but it's better we mention that condition too, because our data will be more accurate after we define the class name too. Okay, and here's the next one. In not this one, class table, class ID, sorry, the class name should be equal to 11b. Okay, here the next one, let's execute this one. Okay, these are the same details, and here's the last condition. I'm filtering the data using the term. Here you can see there are two terms, first term and second term, and I need only the second term. Let's go to our question. Here, second term details. Okay, so in the exam term table, the term name should be equal to second term. Let's execute this one. Here you can see there are only three records related to the three subjects, and these are the data we want. Now we just have to find the sum of these marks. So I'm defining the keyword sum, and here's the attribute we want to find the total, the mark attribute. It stored in the student exam mark record table. So here I mentioned the table, and here's the attribute mark. Okay, let's execute this one. Okay, here's our result. The total value to the three subjects of Nisansala Vikramanayaka, the kid who studied in class 11B, and in second term marks, and here's the total marks, 248.56. that's the mark, that's the total. And it's better we rename our attribute in our result. So as here's the attribute total marks. Okay, here is the final part of our second part of the question, final step of our second part of the question, and here's the whole query. This is the query we use to find our details. Okay, we completed the second part of the question, and let's move on to the third one. Find the sum of the marks obtained by Sachitra Vikramasinghe STU_003 in mathematics and science in the first term test. Okay, here you can see there's another student. We have to find the total value of the marks he recorded to mathematics and science in first term test. Here you can see there's another part. This is the index number of the student. So there are two methods we can use to find these details. We can filter the data using the student name, the first name and the last name. That's the method we used to complete the first part and the second part of this question. But here you can see they gave us the index number 2. So if you want to filter the data using index number, you can use only the index number. So the conditions will be much less than filtering the first name and the last name. We can directly filter the data using the index number. So if you want to use the index number, it's not necessary. Let me show you the SQL browser. To join the student table, you can skip this method, skip this step 2. You can just need the student exam mark record. So you can find the student using the index number, and also the subject table and the exam term table. These are the three tables you want to join, but in this case I like to use the 4 tables and filter the data using the student first name and the last name. Okay, let's join our tables. Let me clear the previous query we used to get the to answer the second part of the question, and write a new query. Here you know what we have to do in the first step. We can join the tables. In this case, I am again using the inner join method. So I'm going to join the 4 tables: student exam mark record, subject, and exam term table. Okay, first let's mention our sorry, not select asterisk means all the details. We want all the attributes, and here we are mentioning the table. Here's the first one, exam mark DB, and here's the first table I'm joining, student exam mark record table. That's the main table because that's the table which records the marks of the student. So student exam mark record table, and where we have to use the inner join key. Inner join, here's the second table I'm joining to the student exam mark record. That's the student table. Okay, here's the connection between these two tables. The student index number in the student table should be equal to the student index number in the student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see there are these are the two tables. We joined them together, and after that here index number, and here's the next inner join. You can see my lines are automatically breaking when it exceeds the query space, this space. That's because I use the data wrap long lines, data wrap long line option. If you check this one, if you didn't check this one, it will go until you finish the query. But if you check this one, it will automatically break the lines for you. So it will be very easy to view all the details in our query. So that's why I use that method. And here you can see student index number. We join the student exam mark record table and the student table, and here's the third one. I am joining the subject table. We have to mention, it's better we mention the database name, mark DB, and here's the subject, and here's the condition. From the subject ID in the subject table should be equal to the subject ID in the student exam mark record table. Okay, here let's execute this one. Here you can see we join the subject table to the table list in a corresponding order, and after that, here this is the last one, we are joining the term table. So in exam mark DB, here's the exam term table, and here's the condition. The exam ID term ID, not exam ID, term ID in exam term table, and it should be equal to term ID in student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one. Here we combine all 4 tables together in a corresponding order, and now we can mention or define our conditions to filter these details. Here is the where clause, where keyword, and here's the first one. We can filter the data using the first name and the last name in student table, but I'm going to leave it until the last one. Let's filter the data using the term name. Here's the first term. We have to find the details of the first term. So here I'm calling the attribute term name. It's in exam term table, and here's the attribute term name, and it should be equal to first term. Execute this one. Okay, you can see me show you here all the details are related to the first term test. Okay, now we can filter the details using the first name and the last name. So I'm using the AND keyword, and after that here in the student table, first name should be equal to, we go to the question again, Sachitra Vikramasinghe. Okay, let's copy the name. Here is the student table, and here Sachitra, that's the first name. Let's copy that one to the query, and here's the next condition. Okay, again in the student table, last name should be equal to Vikramasinghe. Let's copy that name to Vikramasinghe. Okay, that's the second condition. Here you can see only the details of Sachitra Vikramasinghe is showing here, but you can see all three subjects, all the data related to the three subjects she faced are showing, but we need only the only two subjects, mathematics and science. So for that one, we can filter the details using the subject name. So I'm using the AND keyword, and here you can see in the subject table, subject name should be equal to, there's a little problem. You can see there are two names we have to filter. You can use the O method. You can use the subject name should be equal to mathematics, and you can use the O keyword. Then again you can mention the subject name should be equal to science. That's one method, but there's another easy method you can use. I told you earlier, we can there's a keyword called in, and if you use the keyword in, it will not mean equal. It will find the details more than two conditions, like mathematics and science. If you use this one, subject name in, here's the first one, mathematics, sorry, not gravers and marks, we have to use the single quotes, mathematics, and you can use the comma to separate the two values, and science. If you use this method, it will do the same thing, but with less queries or codes. Here you can see, if you use the in keyword, it will check whether the subject name is equal to maths or subject name equal to science. So that's a very easy method. So you can use the keyword in, not equal. If you use equal, it will check only one value. There should be only one value, mathematics or science. So that's why I use this one. Here you can see we find the records related to maths and science subjects of Sachitra Vikramasinghe in first term test. Now we just need to use our keyword sum. Let's change this one to sum and give our attribute name. We want to find the total. Here marks, we need to find the total of the marks, and let me change the attribute name also. We can change this to total marks again. Okay, let's execute this one. You can see the total marks of Sachitra Vikramasinghe for mathematics and science in first term test is 101.74. That's the answer for the third part of the question, and here's the whole query. It's the whole query we used to get the answer for the third part of the question, and let's move on to the fourth one. Find the sum of the marks obtained by all the students of class 11B in subject of mathematics in the second term examination. Okay, that's the fourth part of the question. Let's go to our SQL browser. Let me clear this one. You can see we have to follow the same steps here. We have to find the sum of the marks, that means the total of the marks of the students, of all the students in class 11B, and here are the subjects in the mathematics subject and in the second term test. You can see we have to join the four tables again and then find the total value. Let's go to the SQL browser again. Let me show you a very important thing. Here you can see we have to find all the details of the students, but that means there's no need to join the student table to the table list we are going to join, because we don't need to filter the details using the first name or the last name of the student, of a student. We just need to find the class. We just need to use the class name to filter the class. But here you can see the class table is dependent on the student table, because that's the table which records the index number, and in the table which records the marks of the student, it only stored the student index number. So that means we cannot omit, or we cannot left behind this table 2. We have to join this table 2 and then define the connection between class and the student table, and after that we have to join the student exam mark record table to the student table. So let's join our four tables. You know what we have to do. Let me show you the let me connect the first table. Select asterisk means all the details. Here's the first one, exam mark DB. Here is the student exam mark record table. Let me show you the details. Here you can see these are all the details of all the students. Now I'm going to join the table, so we have to use the keyword inner join, and here's the second table. I'm joining the student table in exam mark DB. Here is the student table, and here's the condition. The student index number in the student table should be equal to the index number in student exam mark record table. Okay, that's the connection. Let's execute this one. Okay, here we join two tables, and after that here's the next table, inner join exam mark DB, and in that database here is the class table. I'm joining the class table, class, and here's the condition on the class ID in class table should be equal to the class ID in student table. Okay, here are the details, and here's the next table we are joining, inner join in exam mark database. Here we are joining the subject, because we have to filter the data using the subject name, so that's why we are joining the subject table. Subject on the subject ID in the subject table should be equal to the subject ID recorded in the student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one too. Okay, and after that here is the last table. We are joining the exam term table. So exam mark DB, in that database here is the exam term table, and here's the condition. The term ID in exam term table should be equal to the term ID in student exam mark record table. Okay, here we connect all three tables together, and these attributes are working like they are in a single table, so that we can call the attributes directly without using the subquery. So here's the first one. I am filtering the data. Here you can see we have to find all the students details in class 11B. Let's filter that one first. So where in class table class name should be equal to 11B. Let's execute this one. Here you can see only the details related to class 11B are showing in the result. And after that, here's the second condition. Let me show you the question. We have to filter the data using the subject name mathematics. So here subject details are stored in the subject table. So subject and subject name should be equal to mathematics. Okay, let's execute this one too. Here you can see only the details related to the mathematics subject of class 11B students are showing in the result, and here is the last one. We have to find only the second term test details. So that's why we join the exam term table. So here's the next condition. That's why I use the keyword and here the exam term table and term name should be equal to second term. Okay, let's execute this one too. Here you can see these are the final details we want. We find the records related to all the students in class 11B for mathematics subject in second term test. Now in the question you can see we have to find the total or the sum of the marks of these students. So we can change the asterisk marks to the keyword sum, and we have to give it the attribute to find the total of the values recorded in that attribute. In student exam mark record table, here's the mark, and we can change the name. Let me change the name as total marks. Okay, we change the attribute of the attribute name of the result set using this keyword as, and here is the attribute name total marks. Let's execute this one. You can see the total marks of all the students in class 11B for mathematics subject in second term test is 301.06. That's the answer for the last part of the question. Let me show you the whole query we used to get this answer, and here we completed the fourth part of the question, and I think that's it for this video. Let's see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.